All right.
Piece of the planet. You know what it is, man. It's a Deece of the Bishop. I'm chilling. I'm so happy because me and this guy right here, Jake Dante, we've been going back and forth for at least, it feels like 6 years. It might have been at least, it's been a minute, like seriously.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny. I feel like my friendship with him is what I think social media is meant for, right? Like you find people who are cool, they like the things you like, you do the things you do, and then you just kind of vibe out and build. Like that's how this happened. You know what I'm saying? That's how this happened. And we were always just kind of mutually supportive of each other, just in general. Like if he posted something, I'd repost, or vice versa. It was just, he does BJJ Wiki too, Off the Mats podcast. You know what I'm saying? And he has really good conversations, not just with important people, but what I'm always impressed with are the ideas. How do you keep training? How do you stay in the mix? How do you avoid the pitfalls that are inevitable in the sport? And so, Jake, thank you for being on Bishop Chronicles. Finally, thank you for being on.
Oh man, thank you for having me on. And I'm glad we're getting to do this because I know with both our schedules, it gets hectic. So
Oh,
once
wait.
it's able to kind of sync up, it's
Yeah,
always good.
it's a beautiful thing, man. And so you are outside of Baltimore, Maryland?
Yes. I'm in Anne Arundel County, so like right on that border of Baltimore and Annapolis.
Okay. And how did you get into jujitsu? Let's talk about your journey into being at the school you're at now, which is Crazy 88 MMA. Tell me
Mhm.
about like your general journey. I'm curious.
Sure. So the initial journey kind of has, a few different startups. I've been watching the UFC since I want to say 95 because we
Hmm.
weren't there in the beginning, but one of my buddies, he took Taekwondo
Okay.
and his parents, I guess, rented UFC 1 and 2 for him.
Really?
And it was wild because, we're little kids and
Hmm.
we're sitting in his basement watching, you know, grown men choke each other and
Fight,
punch
fight.
each other. Yeah, these were fights. And but we're fascinated. We're
Hmm.
like, when we see Hoist Gracie choking people, we're like, oh,
Hmm.
yo, what is this? So as the years went on, his parents would order the pay-per-views for him when they would pop up.
I
So
love that.
I want to say we watch 3, 4, and 5.
Okay. And how
Um,
old were you at that time?
I want to say we, I would say probably 15,
Okay. And how old are you
15 or
now?
16. What am I, 47?
Okay. Yeah, I'm 55. So yeah, I was just curious. Just curious. Just curious. Yeah, yeah.
So, but like watching, the UFC in those days, it was like, okay, cool. It was just a thing when it came up, and
Mm,
everyone else kind of lost interest. And over the years, I kind of stayed semi-connected. And then they had the video game. It was like,
yeah, the
oh,
video game was so dope. Okay, hold
yeah,
on. Did you used to have the Pride video game?
no,
Okay,
no.
I'm not gonna stop your story, but I have to tell you that at the time, I thought that video game was way better. I thought it
Mm,
was way better. It was so good. I think EA used to make it. I don't remember, but like the Pride video game was hella crazy. It had all the old school fighters, plus you could build your own, and the build
mhm.
your own was incredible. That's what I think made it a cut above. But continue.
Yeah, like the video game is what actually re-sparked my interest in
Okay.
MMA. And then this was a couple years before, so this might have been 2000, I want to say 2002
Mm,
possibly, and then the Ultimate Fighter reality show hit in '05. So
hmm. Hmm.
obviously with that, the MMA boom hits again, everybody's into it. Now I'm ordering every pay-per-view possible, and I was like, you know what, I think I want to do a podcast on MMA, but I didn't want to do an MMA podcast and not know stuff. It's like, yes, you
Like
can
you feel
watch
like
it.
kind of phony-ish, like yeah.
Yeah.
And there's always that like it feels weird to say that people shouldn't be have doing these things if they don't train, but there's such a nasty hole in the conversation if they
Mhm.
don't. And I think that's the thing is that most people don't know, but for those that do, if you come off corny or half baked, it's a hard thing to keep respectful.
Yeah, it's tough because there are individuals who know a lot about a sport and have never played the sport or competed in the sport or participated in it. Those folks, much respect, but there are also folks who will talk the game and never been there and don't really know what's what. So, and
Yeah.
I didn't want to be that guy. So, then I'm still years out, but I'm still absorbing all
Hmm.
this
Taking it
content, all these things. So around 2014, I stopped into ground control
in.
in
Okay.
Columbia, Maryland. Really nice gym, great gym. They were actually in transition, moving from one building to another.
Okay.
So I went in, did a trial. It just wasn't a fit for me. I Everyone there was great, but I just felt like, and maybe it was the class I went to. I went to the MMA
Was it too
class.
Fight Clubby? Was it a lack of
Yeah,
attention? Yeah.
it was a combo of both because
A lot of that happens. A lot of that
yeah.
happens. Now, what do you think about, okay, so can we kind of, this is stupid. I never even thought about this until right now. What do you think are signs that a place is too Fight Clubby? What do we see and go, you know what I mean?
Yeah. For me, it's the meathead mentality. If you're injured and it's like you power through, you fight through it. Like, and
Yeah.
there's a fine line with that, but you know, it's you got to be smart about it. And when you see folks that are just like, no, no, you got to be tough, toughen up, and it's like, uh, I get what we're doing, I get where we're at, but you got to be smart about those injuries. So when you see folks just being a meathead about injuries, um, and from my experience, when you go into a gym and there's not really like anyone to take the new person,
Hey, that's
and
a big deal.
yeah, yeah, because that's what I felt at the first gym. There was one guy, he stepped up and
Yeah.
helped me a little bit. Real cool guy. I saw him years later out at Shogun fights in Baltimore,
Hmm.
and it was really cool seeing him. I was like, oh man, like this is cool. And by this
Yeah.
point, I'm at another gym now.
Right. Doing stuff.
Um, but you know, I find it important that when you get a new participant, fighter, grappler,
Hmm.
whatever it may be,
Hmm.
stepping into the gym, you want that individual to stick around. You want them to
You
come back.
do, man. You do. And I feel like there's such a, like, even now, like, one of the things that I'm trying to refine at our school at Alf Gracie, San Jose, Alf Gracie, Santa Clara is like, I'm trying to refine the visitor's first experience. Like, I'm starting to like look for people in the gym. You know what? From now on, because obviously, I mean, like, we're not a fight club. So like I can pick almost anybody and say whatever. But like I'm thinking about creating a team of like four, right? So when any
Mhm.
given new person comes in, they know that they'll be the assistant to that person, da 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 da. And what I'm also really trying to do is do that with the kids class, which is a little harder, right? But I think it's a cool way to like teach leadership and you know what I mean, connectivity, blah blah blah. But I think that's an important thing. So then you got out of there and then you decided to go to Crazy 88, or did you go somewhere else before?
So I went to Ivy League MMA, which eventually became Crazy 88
Okay, okay,
for us. But I ended up in Arnold, Maryland at Ivy League,
okay.
and I sat in and watched one of the kids classes because
Hmm.
that's important to me because I used to be a preschool teacher. So I want to see
Right.
how you deal with children. How do you talk to
That's
the children?
true.
Yeah, that goes a long way because if you are, you know, just being kind of a knucklehead towards the kids, I can only
Yeah.
imagine what you're going to say to adults.
Trying to hit the Cobra Kai vibes.
Mm-hmm,
You know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? It's like, nah, but it's not make it, you know what I'm saying?
But I stopped in there, watched the kids class. And I was like, all right, well, let me go sign up for a trial.
Mm-hmm.
I did the trial. I got manhandled by a 14-year-old. I was like, yo, I like
Man,
it
that'll
was.
sober you up, huh?
Oh yeah, well yeah, he's a great kid. He was one of their top competitors
Right.
and very very bright. And I so I always joke about it. I say I ended up signing up just because I was like, oh, I'm gonna get that dude. I'm gonna get him.
Yeah, he's got to have
And
faith.
I never did. Like even when he turned 18, he's about to head off for college. We had a role before he left, and we ended up in 50-50. But he's such a nice kid.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
but yeah, ending up at Ivy League, and just kind of experiencing that vibe there. Like I just actually had a teammate on earlier today, and I was talking about my first experience there, and he was a big part of it because I had a Spider-Man shirt on. And he called me over. It's like, yo, Spider-Man. We got to talking
I
about
love
Venom
stuff
and
like that.
stuff. So I ended up staying there. And then over the years, Ivy League transitioned to Crazy 88 and
Okay.
joined with the other two schools that we have in the area. And I've just kind of been, with it since then, on and off. Um, I don't know, like during that time, and kind of going back to, introducing new students or welcoming new students during my time at Ivy League, whenever we had new students come in, our coach would always
Mhm.
have me work with the new students, kind of,
Got
stick close to them, walk them through the basics. And one thing
Mhm.
I always tried to emphasize myself personally was teaching them how to fall. Because,
Dude, if you can't roll, fall, tuck that neck,
yeah, oh my
it's
goodness,
crazy quick.
it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. But I
Mhm.
would always teach them, the first 15 minutes. We're just going to sit here and we're going to fall. We're going to rock back and forth and fall to the floor.
Mhm.
Once you get that going, then we started kind of working on shrimping and, like just basic movement. And that was a good run. It's a good setup. And coach had myself and a couple others doing this, and we similar to what you're looking to do. We also had that with some of the older kids. When you see a kid come in, you know, we as the coaches will work with the group, but then once it's time to start drilling the technique, you have those older kids kind of work with the new students and really build a foundation for our
Mhm.
team. And like you said, that young leadership. So
No,
that's
that's great,
kind of
man.
the basic run of how I ended up in the gym that I'm in currently. um but yeah, like mainly wanted to do a podcast, and also to just I worked out and played football, so all those things were bruising my body and breaking my body. Then I did jujitsu, thinking, oh, this shouldn't do that, and still bruising and breaking my body. But hey,
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a never-ending saga with that part of it, right? Like
mm-hmm,
it's funny though, like so like I said, I'm 55, I've been doing jujitsu since I was 20, probably like I started rolling with my friends and trying to learn off videotapes around 93. I don't think I
mm,
trained with Half until 97. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really count that previous time, right? Because I was just kind of a noob trying to like figure shit out. Like, but 97 for sure. You know what I mean? In terms of having a legit instructor and, whatever.
sure.
But like, it's a long journey and you definitely get injured and you definitely have your timeouts or whatever. But actually, I've never really had like uh, the worst injury I had is a guy fell on my leg and I was out for about 2 years with that. He just fell on my leg
Oof.
when we were rolling. But, like thankfully, I haven't had like a highly catastrophic injury. My knees are trash right now, but I haven't had like a really highly catastrophic injury. And it's interesting because I think that yes, we have injuries and da da da. But what I find, and tell me what you think about I just want you to think your sphere of influence, your family, friends, whatever, high school buddies, college buddies. Like, do you find that overall you're in better general health despite your jujitsu injuries? Because I find that even with my injuries, I tend to be way more healthier than most of my friends who don't train. And I attribute it to the training, not just because I'm cool or something.
Yeah, I would say there's a definite advantage for myself. with, I
Hmm.
would say, majority of my friends. I have one friend who's really, really fit, and he's dialed in on that. Whenever we do our beer review podcast, he's like, I have to go work out before I, get here. I had to
Right.
calculate and make sure that I can account for these calories coming in. So
Yeah.
discounting him, everyone else, it's like, and I try to, explain to them, hey, come give it a try.
Yeah.
Just even just under the basic ideal of knowing how to fall, just that, because we all fall.
Come on, bro. I mean, it's crazy. And there was one time I was mopping uh a floor at my old place. It was marble floor, and was listening to music super loud, and I painted myself in. I mopped my way into a corner, not being conscious, and I looked, and it was just like glistening marble. You know what I mean? And I was like, "All right, I got to be careful. Let me just take this first step." And I fell, and I slapped the marble, and I tucked my chin. And I
Mm.
had music playing hella loud. It was a hot summer day. So like if anybody didn't see me fall, they just would have thought I was partying in there chilling and I would have been knocked out on the floor bleeding out. And I remember slapping and I was like, oh, I was like, but I'm alive. I was like, yo, jiu-jitsu saved my life. Judo saved my life. I was like, you know what I'm saying? But like that falling thing is a really big deal, man. It's a really big
Yeah. My wife, years ago, she was running out to the car and she slipped and fell
hmm
and hit her head. She was okay,
Yeah, yeah,
thankfully,
yeah.
but um and this is before training.
Right,
So
right, right.
I don't know how to technically fall in that sense, but playing
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
football, you know how to hit the ground a certain way
It's real.
to, to absorb that impact. So, I always try to explain to my wife, at the very least, knowing how to fall can really save you. It, like, even if you go into that gym, you don't pick up anything but learning how to fall. It's like, okay,
It's a big
that's
deal. No,
something.
it's a big deal, And no, that's really interesting. Now, how big are you? How like what?
I'm what, 5'9", 190. Well, just got under two, so I'm 198 now. So I've
Yeah,
been
yeah,
on
yeah.
my weight loss journey. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I just started trying to lose. I had to cut sugar out, man. I've been noticing at this phase,
yeah.
like the sugar thing, like I was always like, I gotta quit sugar. I gotta quit sugar. I gotta quit sugar. And then I took a test and I was right on the line for pre-diabetic. And I was like, you really have to quit sugar. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, um, I have a weird diet. It's pseudo keto, pseudo vegetarian. Like I'll usually eat a lot of veg and then just have a keto-ish type. Those are my only two meals. Or I'll do one meal a day, eat just one big ass meal. But I've really cut out. I was gummy bears and cookies
Oh,
were my
same.
poison. You know what I'm saying? Gummy bears and cookies. And I'm noticing a lot of folks, especially black folks, really getting caught up with diabetes these days. And I'm just trying
Hmm.
not to be one of them. It's hard, bro.
Yeah, same. There's I have a sweet tooth, and it's almost uncontrollable. But
Hmm.
I've been, over the last 2 months, month and a half, I've been keeping a closer eye. In the last 3 weeks, I've been fasting. Just a 12-hour fast.
No, fasting's a big
Uh,
deal, man. Yeah.
it's been helpful because I had hit a plateau. I was stuck at 205
You
for a long
couldn't snap
time.
it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, no matter how much I trained, how much I ran, how much I lifted, I was just at 205 and I couldn't get past it. And I started fasting and I hit 198 earlier this week, and I was excited. I was like, I haven't been under 200 since before COVID, and
Oh, I
everything.
just got under 200. I'm 199. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
dude, I was walking around at a unimpressive 212 to 215, you know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
it was just unimpressive, dog. And so like I've been using the fasting to turn everything down. And I think that, and I'm glad you mentioned this is one of the reasons why I try to invite so many people to do jujitsu because most dieting doesn't have a purpose. And I'm not saying like, your health should be enough. Like we all know that. But we also know that it's
Yeah.
normally not. But when you're doing jujitsu and you're like, okay, I'm trying to cut weight for a comp. I'm trying to cut weight so when I get to the next belt level, I'm not weighed down or I can, you know what I mean? And jujitsu forces you to think better about how you eat, think better about, not drinking alcohol, not being high, all these other things. And so it's like a lot of times I don't think that my friends recognize when I'm inviting them to jujitsu, I'm not inviting them to, oh, so I can show you how cool I am. Oh, so I can show you that I can kick your ass. Oh, so I'm like, no, I'm trying to invite you to learn how you can save your own life. That's what I'm really trying to do. Like you can save your own life. And you don't have to go to the hospital. You don't need surgery. You know what I mean? But I don't think it's a very hard sell,
Yeah.
the value of jujitsu beyond fighting, quote unquote. It's a very hard sell.
Yeah. For myself, when I talk to friends, it's been a while. I have a few people ask me here and there, but it's been a while since I've had someone actually from my outside friend group say, "Yeah, let me give it a try." I have a
Yeah.
buddy who wants to try boxing,
Hmm.
and I told him, anything. Just I like trying to bring people into this culture, you know, but and this is a friend who is dialed in with his health, and one of the conversations that I think about is like, well, okay, you're doing all this, but then what? Like, what's the next step? Because even when growing up, I had friends talk about I have to lose this weight, I have to be this weight, and then it's like, okay, but what's your goal? Like, what do you get into?
Why?
The Like for me, I was talking with my therapist, and I guess now she's my life coach. I guess her role has changed,
It shifted.
but one of the conversations we had earlier this year was, just setting goals. I gave out a list of, goals I'd like to
Mhm.
look at in the long run. And one of those was in jujitsu to reach purple belts by a certain date. But in order to get there, we need to have some smaller goals
Yeah,
to
not mapped
build.
out.
And part of that was losing weight and eating better and sleeping better. So I'm in the midst of that. I'm eating better. I'm losing weight. I just got to work on the sleep.
Dude, I'm
That's
horrible with the sleep. I have very, very horrible sleep things. I don't know what's working for you, but what's working for me is sticking to a pre-sleep routine. Like I have to shower, I have to dim the lights, I have to play like lo-fi. I have to tell my body, yo, we're shutting this shit down, right? I got to get off the phone, right? I can't still be on the gram. And that's an addiction in and of itself, right?
mhm.
And if I do yoga, 15 minutes of yoga, so shower, lo-fi music, 15 minutes of yoga, or just stretching, I'm way better when I do that. But if I
Nice.
deviate from that, it's just whatever happens, happens. Sometimes good, sometimes horrible.
Yeah, the routine, like I'm super inconsistent, but it's like I'm in the ballpark. All right. It's like once my daughter goes down for bed at about 9, a little before 9, lights are off in the house. Lights are all off. If I'm doing anything on my phone or the computer, it's prepping podcast stuff,
Right.
or with BJJ Wiki, I try to schedule my post for the next day so that way while I'm at work, it just happens and I don't have to mess with it later on. But once that's done, you know, I'll put on a movie. I tend to watch horror movies, and people are like, "Well, that definitely doesn't help you
You
sleep." It's
got a
like,
horror podcast as well.
yeah. So
And tell
and
people about your horror podcast real quick. For those that
uh,
into it, I'm too scared. I don't watch none of it.
it's called "So You Like Horror." Um, and I'm not even sure why I chose that name, but I was just like, like just go
People do?
with it. Someone tried to correct me on it. Like someone was like, "You mean do you like horror?" I was like, "No,
No.
actually, I
Oh, you like
don't."
horror. Yeah, exactly.
So, but I tend to watch a horror movie on the way to bed, and it's usually something I've already watched, so it's not like anything
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
distracting.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I have this weird thing, and I can't explain it. I don't understand it, but when it's completely pitch black in my room and there's no sound, no nothing, I'm really antsy. and my body, I can't, I just can't. But when the TV's on, and I put on a sleep mask, so there's no light. It's like
Right.
I put on a sleep
Yeah.
mask and it's dark,
Yeah.
and the volume is super low, so you really can't hear. But there's something that's radiating that I can feel on my skin that's
Mm.
comforting, and it's
Yeah.
really,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Calm.
And,
It's
and I don't know.
it's interesting. I have changed. Um, Oddly enough, pre-pandemic, and I'll say it now, I was fucking afraid of the dark, dog. I didn't like jet
Yeah.
black shit at all. I was like, fuck that. Um, and then after the pandemic, little by little, I got to liking darkness all the way. And so now it's like I can take it or leave it, but I prefer it totally dark, you know? Um, Also, I depending on how you got into meditation, some people say that it's bad to meditate and sleep, right? They'll say like if you meditate
Mm.
and you fall asleep, that's a bad thing. Like I know a lot of people who meditate that say that. Now I teach meditation. I've been meditating forever, and I remember the first teacher that I had, I asked him, I said, "So what do you say if people meditate and then they end up falling asleep?" And he said, "Well," and he was my transcendental meditation coach, what they call TM. And so he said, "What we believe is that if when you meditate, they said that when you meditate, your body does what it knows it should for itself. So that if you are meditating and you fall asleep, that only means that you needed sleep. It's going to let you do what you need to do. So don't judge it. You know what I mean? If you fall asleep, fine. If not, fine." And that took a lot of anxiety, I think, away from me. And I think a lot of people that meditate think that their mind should be empty, but it's not really meant to be empty. It's just meant to be calm, because you might be laying there with your eyes shut and you see bills, or you see yourself when you were a kid, or you see something from your job, like all that stuff. Those passing thoughts will go through, but you just don't hold on to them. But I do meditate into sleep intentionally. Like if I feel like I can't, calm down. So yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting. One of the things I wanted to run by you is, like I wanted to talk about motivation, and I wanted to talk about inspiration, and I wanted to talk about developing the will to return to the mats. Sometimes it's just life's busy, family, marriage, kids, whatever, uh, job, right? Like
Oh yeah.
honestly, right? Other times, I think for people that have been training consistently, it could be injuries, it could be seeing people get past you, like you started at the same level, now they're whatever, you're still here, or even worse, when people start after you and then surpass you, right? I mean, like I did jujitsu forever, but a lot of people got their black belts way before me. Sometimes they got a black belt and gave a damn black belt before I got my black belt. You know what I mean? Um, and so I know how discouraging it can be to do jujitsu, period, and stay consistent. So I kind of wanted to ask you, what were some of the setbacks you may have had at white or blue belt as you are now? And then how did you kind of navigate around those and convince yourself to keep training or find the will to keep returning?
So at white belt, the big thing for me was initially schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I was only able to train on Saturdays
Mm-hmm.
because my schedule during the week was, I want to say, 12:30 to 9.
Okay.
So classes are usually like 6 or 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, stuff like that. So
Mm,
I was unable to train other than Saturday mornings. And I think that went on for maybe a year, a little
okay.
over a year. And, it was just life. But I stuck with it because I'm new, I'm fresh to it, and I was really excited. So in the beginning, my motivation was just excitement. And I really, really wanted to try to get something from this, even though
Mm-hmm.
it's tough with once per week. It's very
It's really
difficult.
hard. I think if you don't, this is what Gumby taught me, my instructor Gumby. He said, if you don't train at least twice a week, you're just never going to catch up. You're never going to be on par with the pace of the school. And I definitely
Yeah.
believe that, you know.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Um, Once my scheduling changed, I was able to train 5, 6 days a week. This was about a year and a half into it now. So once that happened, you start seeing that growth. You start seeing those changes,
Wow.
and the motivation changes now, because before it was just like, I'm excited, I'm having fun with this, and I want to prove that I can, make something of it. Now that I got more time on the mats, now the motivation is actually, you know taking what I'm learning and applying it.
Mm.
This is just all on mat, motivations, just things that I kind of, pushed on myself. I also, for me, I had a bad habit of starting things and never continuing. I was a Boy Scout and made it, what, to second class scout, and it was like, I think I'm good enough. I know how
Yeah.
to tie a knot, and then
Yeah, I
moved
got a few
on.
knots in and I'm out.
Yeah. So another part of that motivation was, I don't want to just get to second class and then quit again. So, and I never felt like I had to prove anything to anyone else. It was more like, this is for me. Now, as the journey continue, and my daughter starts to get older, and she's seeing me and she's seeing things, now the motivation shifts again, because I want her to be able to see, like, you start something, you do something, you stick with it, you don't quit. And that's not to say you can't, you know, change your mind on things.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, it's like, things are hard. You don't just quit at the first sign of difficulty. You want to keep, trying to work. Now, if it becomes just a thing that's impossible, and you just know beyond a
Yeah,
shadow of a
it's beyond
doubt.
me. Yeah.
But my daughter seeing me train became another part of that motivation. So there's always something kind of keeping me pushing, even when COVID hit, and then there's time away from the mats now. And now I've switched back to a 1 day per week after everything kind of comes back. It's now like, okay, it's difficult, but what do I do now? I have to treat this like I treated school, which I
Mm,
wasn't a great student. But now as an adult, I understand. It's like, okay, well, if I'm away from this mat, what am I doing away from the mats that I can, you know, use to help myself get better?
can help enrich.
Whether,
Yeah.
yeah, watching film.
Mm,
I record all my rounds.
mm.
On Saturdays, I record the coaches instructing the moves. I go back and,
Can we talk about that?
oh
Because
yeah.
I journal. I just recently started journaling. Um, and journaling about jujitsu has been one of the best things I've ever done. There's a guy named Professor Sean Whitmore at Heroes Martial Arts in Los Gatos, California. Unbelievable coach, unbelievable teacher, unbelievable roller. But man, I gotta say, one day I was talking with Professor Dorian Cartwright, the guy that runs Half Gracie, San Jose, Santa Clara, and he was like, "Yeah," he goes, "Sean's been journaling his roles for years, like every role." I said, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah." So this year I started journaling, and I can't lie, bro, it has completely changed the game for me. But I've never like filmed myself rolling. I've never done that. Can you tell me what you've learned about yourself in that process, and how has filming yourself rolling changed from the beginning to now, or is it the same? I'm just curious.
So there are definite differences. When I first filmed myself rolling, it was a nightmare. It was like looking back at that video, was like, oh no, there's no direction. I'm just out there.
Chaotic.
Now looking at it, and it's not even the thought of like, oh, that video is watching me. It is the thought of, I watched this last week and this was a mistake that I made. Let's not make that mistake again.
Can I not? Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And let's talk about some of your more common mistakes, just so other people can kind of think about what theirs are.
Sure. I my balance. I have really good balance, but when I'm on the mats and I'm rolling, let's say, I'm in some kind of top position. Say we're doing that knee cut,
Hmm.
and I'm coming through. I off balance myself sometimes,
Mm,
and it's like, as I'm going through, I might like slide through quick, and I get excited, and it's like, I'm up, I'm up a little too high or something.
yeah,
So
yeah.
watching those videos, I'm seeing it each time. It's like, okay, you're getting lower and lower and lower. All right, cool, you're holding now. And
Hmm.
then, there's the ideal too. Watching those videos, there are times like I might get a pass, but then I don't secure.
Right. That's always heartbreaking.
Yeah, so seeing that in a video, and it's tough watching those videos back because you're
Yeah,
like, oh
yeah,
man,
totally. Totally.
it it sucks. And
Imagine.
then but taken away from those videos, it definitely has made me understand. And there are times where like I can see in the video where like something's happening. It's like, are you being lazy? Are you just exhausted because you're gassed out?
Right.
And seeing that, it's like knowing the difference. And I was like, oh, you're just being lazy at that point. You can get out of that. You're just not trying. Or there's a time where it's like, okay, this is the sixth roll, and you're burnt out, but you're still doing it because I I don't tend to take rounds off. And it's
right.
not because of any macho, tough thing or
You just
anything.
want to stay on point.
Yeah, because if I sit down and I get cold, I can't get back to it. So
That's yeah, I tend to try to stay too. I try to stay if there's a bunch of rounds
yeah, yeah.
and I
Um,
commit. I'm always afraid of stopping.
yeah. Like one of the other things too is when I record the instructors showing a technique, I do journal. I write down the tech. I don't know if you can see. I have this book here, um,
I like it.
and and I write all my notes in there on what the technique was, how to perform it, because I find that when I write it down, it sticks.
So
I
much
can't I can't just
not even
watch the video.
comparable. It's an incomparable thing that I didn't recognize until I started doing it, dog. Like I just
Yeah.
didn't, you know. That's really cool, man. Now, one thing I also wanted to talk to you about was because it's been on my mind for a while. Do you teach any kids classes? Because you mentioned kids classes earlier. Do you
I
or
used to.
okay.
I don't anymore. It's been what year? We're in 25, so I don't think I've done it since maybe 21, 22. So
Oh
it's been
no,
a
that's
couple
cool though.
years.
No, it's cool. But the thing I wanted to talk to you about is like, um, how do you deal with keeping kids motivated to keep going when they're having a tough time? Because every kid hits a plateau, right? It seems like they're
Yep.
natural. It seems like they love it. It seems like whatever. And then, they have and it's not even necessarily if the kid competes, just that they do it, right? Like they're starting
Mhm.
to lose more, da 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 da. Now, what I've normally done is I've said, hey, look, like you can't feel bad when you lose here in class because this is where you're supposed to lose. You want to lose here and learn about why so that you don't lose if God forbid you ever actually need this art. You know what I mean? If you're asking yourself, hey, how do I do that armbar? What did Professor Deesa say? And then it's a problem, right? Like if you're asking yourself, am I doing it right? You're probably not. And if you're asking yourself, if am I doing it right? You're probably not present, even if you are doing the move right. And I always say, like, if as a kid, but it goes to adults too, if the only thing you walk away from was a win-loss record, well, I got 3 wins and 2 losses, and blah, 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 as opposed to my guard passing's good, but I'm still having a hard time maintaining the mount, like those kinds of things. I find that helps. Um, can you talk to me about some of the things that you do to help keep young people motivated and some of the things that you think can help?
So I think with younger kids, um, one thing that helps is keeping it fun. All right, you gotta, because if it comes in as very rigid and just super strict, it's they're not having fun. They don't want to do it. So you got to keep it fun in some way, shape, or form. Whether it be you're doing the techniques through a form of a game,
Yeah.
that goes over so well. And then also too, let's say you're going over your techniques and you're being a little bit more strict this class. You want to make sure we're getting this down, but make sure at the end to leave a little bit more time for dodgeball or sharks and minnows, things like
Yeah.
that. So you want them. When I used to teach during the parent teacher conferences at the
Mhm.
school, you always want to kind of use that sandwich technique. You start off saying something good, to the parents. Then you bring up your concerns, but then you
Mhm.
always end with a positive. And I always think about that with kids' classes too. You start
So
off,
hard.
greetings. have a good time, everybody's smiling, and that technique might be kind of that downtime, that negative, but you still want to
Mhm.
hope that it's fun for them. But like, if anything, if you forget everything, always remember to end on a game. Make sure we're having fun with that game, because they walk out of there now smiling. The last thing they remember is they had a good time.
That's true.
And coming in, the first thing that hits them is we're about to have a good time. So,
Yep.
that's one thing with the littles that I always think about. Also too, when they're getting just thrashed on the mats in sparring and stuff, as you're getting to your juniors and stuff like that, your teens, your
Hmm.
preteens, um comic book lore kinds of coming to this.
Mm.
Spider-Man loses, but Spider-Man always comes back. Batman loses, he always comes back. And I think it's important sometimes too for the kids to see you in there on the mats rolling, and you might take a bit of an L
Having
there.
some having some rough times, having right, so
Yeah.
that they don't think that they're trying to live up to a perfect standard that's not really ever achievable.
Yes.
That's
So
really great. You just
yeah.
changed me with this Batman, Spider-Man stuff because it's real and it's important. You know what I mean? It's really important. Um,
Yeah.
how important do you think it is that kids compete? I don't think it's that important that kids compete. I only normally suggest a kid compete if they seem to have a knack for it and if they seem to be having a lot of fun. We have a competition team, a kids comp team, but um, I still don't think that I'd rather have a kid never compete and be awesome and have great character than compete, but then be like a bully or just kind of, like lose
Sure.
themselves to the competition. You know what I mean? Path.
Yeah. Um, I kind of a mixed bag on competition because I don't compete. I have competed and I didn't particularly enjoy it, but I
Yeah,
do think it's important for everyone to try it once at some point.
yeah,
And I think with kids, I think a thing that's important is maybe not so much competition out there at IBJJFs and Nagas and grappling industries, but mock matches inside the gym.
yeah.
Um,
In-house joints, in-house.
yeah, like having them have some experience there to really kind of test what they're learning, and also to kind of help them with the confidence, because it can
Hmm.
be jarring in front of crowds and everything.
Hmm.
So you're doing the things in gym.
Adds a little stress.
Yeah. But I think it's important to at least do it once, and even to some degree do it once at each level that you're at. So let's say you're a little kid, you're coming in, you've been doing it for, I don't know, a year and a half, and it's like, hey, maybe let's do like an in-house tournament or some mock matches
Yeah.
here. And then let's say they get to what their gray belt, I believe,
Mhm.
comes up. It's like, okay, let's see how they feel, because if they're not really feeling it, then I would say no. But if they seem like they're feeling it, like, yeah, let's try it
Yeah.
out. And then if after that they don't want to do it again, that's fine. But then once you get to your next level, maybe
Yeah.
fill it out again. But at least once, I think, goes a long way with letting you know how you really feel about it. And
Yeah.
I know after I competed and I did it that one time and I got silver, and that was the best possible outcome, because if I got gold, I would walk around like y'all can't tell me shit. And and if I got no medal, I would have walked out of there like, man, I suck.
I'm
I'm going back to
trash.
football.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
getting silver was like one of those things where it's like, I know I'm not the best,
But
but
I'm
I'm
in the
not the
mix.
worst, but there's something to work towards.
No, that's really interesting too. Yeah, I think that I actually had done a podcast a couple weeks ago and I was saying like I think for kids sometimes the worst thing that can happen is they get gold in their first comp.
Oh yeah.
Like this kid we was going and he got tapped early or whatever and I was just like, dude, this is good. He was like, what do you mean? I just lost. And I was like, it means every comp, everything can only get better. Okay, you got eliminated. Now you won your first, lost your second. Now, okay, you made third. Now you got second. Now, by the time you get gold, you're gonna be hella juice, and you know what I mean? But if you come in on that high of gold, and I've seen it happen where like they circle back and then they don't get gold, maybe ever, maybe, you know what I mean? And it ruins their sense of self-esteem as opposed
Yeah.
to, you know, um, clawing their way up to, whatever, clawing their way up to gold. I think it's really interesting, man.
Yeah.
Before you go, talk about bjj.wiki, why you created it, and talk about your podcast before we sign out because I'm always impressed by everything you're doing.
Sure. Thank you. Well, with BJJ Wiki, it actually came from a teammate. He started it up and he asked me to run the website.
Mm,
And I was like, I can try. I don't have any experience with this, so I don't know, but I can try. And then
mm,
I asked him, I was like, you mind if I make an Instagram for it though? Because I was more social
right.
media savvy at that time, especially. And he was like, yeah, do what you want. Like as long as
Yeah.
you take care of the site. And then the Instagram just turned into what it
The
is.
whole thing.
Yeah, I didn't know. I was like, one
It's
day I
so
wake
cool,
up,
man.
it was like
It's so
10,000
cool.
followers. Like, what? But from there, he was like, look, you can take over the website. It's yours now. Run
Wow.
with it. So that was great, but I fumbled because I didn't keep the domain and everything up and running. So
Oh,
I didn't know that. Like again,
right.
this is
You were that new. Yeah.
so um I kept the Instagram running. And what I decided to do with the Instagram, because I love reposting. That's it's just less stress on me.
Come on,
Like,
man. You don't have to
but
explain.
reposting memes, because there's a formula in my mind where I post 9 times a day. And a lot of folks are like, dude, that's a lot. And it's like, yes, but you have to hear where I'm coming from. I do 3 posts in the morning here on the East Coast. That's going to get people, you know, whatever. Like they get to
Mhm.
work, they kind of have that little bit of downtime real quick. So you
Right.
see a meme, you get to laugh, you see a technique video, you chronicle that and lock it in. And that
Mhm.
third post used to be promoting something from the website.
Okay.
So if I put up a video showing how to do a Barada plotter, I'm going to now put the link that shows you on the website. Same deal, just from a different instructor, but it's all
Yeah.
in house. Um, since I lost that access, I do have the domain back. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with it.
How you want
But
to roll?
now the third post is usually something motivational, something to kind of lift people's spirits. And I get
Yeah.
some pushback from people with that, and I don't
No, keep
take
doing
it
it.
personal.
Keep doing it.
Yeah,
Keep doing it. Keep
yeah.
doing
I think we all need it.
it. Yeah.
Even those people that are like trash and it's like, you need this too. You need
Yeah.
to know that, like there are a lot of fantastic Instagram accounts that give that information where it's like, how to take care of your body, you know, like, and I've reposted some of your stuff on meditation and
Thank you.
stoicism, you know,
Yeah, man.
in that exact spot, because these things are so important. So, with BJJ Wiki, I just want to, a big thing with it for me once I started the Instagram account was community. I
Yeah.
just wanted us all to learn from each other, laugh with each other, and build each other. And
Yeah.
I'm still rocking it, and I'm gonna keep running.
That's great, man. That's great. Well, man, thank you so much for being on this podcast. We got to do more. I mean, there's so much stuff that we can and
Absolutely.
should talk about. So I'll have you back soon. Tell people where to check in with your podcast because it's an important thing that people should soak in if they're serious about the sport.
Absolutely. My podcast is Off the Mats Podcast. It's available everywhere. Anywhere you can find podcasts, it's there. I believe
Yep.
it is on YouTube, just the audio.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We, um, I say we, it's me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, I am working on a project, hopefully for next fall,
Okay.
where we will have some video coming out. And I love the ideal. So got some friends like brainstorming with me, and I'm excited to get started in the spring and drop
That's great.
this in the fall for you all. But Off the Mats Podcast, wherever you find your podcast, and also on Instagram at Off the Mats
Yeah.
Podcast. You can find me there.
Beautiful, man. Thank you for spending time. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your journey. And oh, give him the IG for Crazy 88 just in case.
Oh yeah, yeah. So Crazy 88, there's um I'm specifically at Crazy 88 MMA, or actually Crazy 88 MMA on Instagram is our main one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I believe the other one, that's this shows how little I even
I know I'm the same way
focus on it.
sometimes, bro. Yeah, yeah, I know.
Uh, but the one that I primarily train at is Crazy 88 Severna Park.
Okay.
Um, so Crazy 88 Severna Park on Instagram, and then Crazy 88 MMA also on Instagram. And we also have Crazy 88 Owens Mills. We got 3 gyms out
Yeah,
here.
there we
So
go. All right,
if y'all in
man.
the area, come see us.
Come see him. Thank you so much, Jake. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. And you're always welcome on Bishop Chronicles. And I appreciate the support that you give to Bishop Chronicles. And I'm really grateful we came across each other on the net, man. This has been great.
Thank you, man. Same, same.
All
Thank
right,
you.
man. Have a blessed one. Peace.
You too. Thank you.